Today I messed up by almost drowning in a pit of human waste. So, this didn't happen today but a few months ago, but I never told anyone. It's a long story so you can find it too long. Didn't read. At the end. A while back the company I was working for was tearing out and removing an old waste treatment system that was shut down in the 70s. This was basically a massive underground pit where the waste solids, aka shit, would settle on the bottom of the chamber and the liquids would be pumped out. The thing is when they shut it down it was left full of shit and is by far one of the nastiest jobs I have ever done. We opened the pit up by tearing off the top with equipment and were bringing in trucks to pump out the waste. The pit was about 16 feet deep and filled to the top with solids. And when I'm talking solids, I'm taking shit, tons and tons of shit, condoms, and for some reason pumpkin seeds, which I still don't understand to this day. One weekend we got a bunch of rain. When it rained, we would pump the water out into the new sewer so we could remove the solids. Since it was the weekend and we had so much rain, my boss asked me to swing by and turn the pumps on, so the water didn't get out of hand. So, I went out to the job site alone to turn on the pumps and suck the water out. When I got to the job site, I turned the pumps on, but they were clogged up. I decided to walk into the structure alone and clear the pumps, and that is the start of my screw-up that almost cost me my life. Since I took my personal vehicle, I didn't have any of my equipment, so instead of using a harness I went in without one, which is the first screw-up. This structure was underground, and the pit had large chambers that were broken into basically large upside-down V's that you could walk on the point, which was a foot or two wide. When I got down to the pumps and was crouched down cleaning them, my phone rang, and I went to answer it, and that was my second screw-up. Being crouched, I had to turn my leg and try to get my phone out of my pocket, and my foot slipped on some gravel and I slipped off the ledge and fell in. At this point, I wasn't worried about anything besides the fact that I just landed in straight 40-year-old shit up to my knees. However, when I tried to move to get to the edge to get out, I started to sink. Like I said, this pit was 16 foot deep and it was like being in quicksand. I tried to reach for the edge, but it was just out of reach, and when I tried to move again, I was now a little over my waist deep. At this point, I was still fine. Yes, I was covered in shit, but normally the city work guy comes around once or twice a day to check the site, so just chill there, wait for him to come and he can get me out. Sure, I'm going to be embarrassed, more than likely to get in trouble, but I would be fine. The thing is, while I stood there covered in shit, I noticed that I was still sinking, and that's when the panic set in. I couldn't wait, I had to get out or I was going to die. I was going to drown in 40-year-old human shit. My whole life had led to me drowning in shit. So I instantly tried to get out. I tried to kick my way out. I tried to pull myself out. I tried to swim on the top of it all while sinking deeper and deeper, and nothing but the thought of the absolute crazy way that I was going to die. At this point, I had sunk to my chest and I had pretty much lost all hope and had started to accept my fate, and broke into a combination of hysterical laughter and cursing myself for my stupidity of going down there with a harness. I finally calmed down while I'm reading the wrapper for a condom from like the 60s, and I noticed a piece of rebar sticking out of one of the walls that we had started to tear down. I reached out and stretched myself out more than I ever think I've done in my life and was able to grab it. With every ounce of my strength, I managed to pull myself free, and then pull myself to the edge and get out. I got out of the pit and fell on the ground and looked up at the sky and laid there covered in shit and smelling worse than I ever did in my life, and laughed. I was alive. My story had not ended by drowning in shit. I got up, found a water hose and washed myself off. I threw my clothes away and drove home naked and took what was the best and longest shower of my life, and never told a soul how close I came to drown in 40-year-old shit. Too long. Didn't read. I went out to a sewage treatment plant alone without a harness, tried to answer my phone and fell in a pit and almost drowned in human shit. Today I messed up by forgetting I wasn't muted during a Zoom meeting when I ate my lunch, causing irreversible harm to my reputation. I talk to my food when I eat it. I have been working from home recently, obviously, and I am pretty fortunate because basically there is no function of my job I need to be in the office for. But I have let some bad habits seep in. I'm sure anyone in an office knows that like 80% of the meetings you attend could probably just be an email. But since we are meeting via Zoom, and since a lot of people don't even enable video, if I am in a meeting I know isn't important and where I probably won't even have to speak, I just mute myself and go sit on the sofa and play a video game on mute or browse the internet or whatever. Or eat lunch. I have an odd quirk that I do when I eat by myself. I talked to my food and to myself. On the day in question, my lunch, I had a sandwich and some pita chips with hummus. So, for example, I said something like, there's hummus among us. Or when I had a chip, I would say things like, that's what I call a chip. Or welcome to my mouth, Mr. Pita. And the sandwich, I pretended it insulted me, so I was like, did you just call me a bitch? Hoo boy, you just buttered the wrong biscuit. Nom 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 nom. Or later I would comfort it, like, don't worry, had my fiber gummy, you're coming out smooth. I wasn't really listening to what was happening in the meeting, but finally I heard my name a few times. To my horror, I had not muted my mic. They heard it all. My manager was saying rather curtly, can you please mute yourself? Some people were laughing. I mumbled an apology and muted myself. I got a stern message from him later saying I should wait for lunch until after a meeting, and if I had to eat during a meeting, mute myself. In our Slack channels, people are making fun of for talking to my food. But it is clear, they think I am insane. In the eyes of my manager, I have lost all stature, and in the eyes of my coworkers, I am a lunatic. This could have negative effects on my career. I am actually thinking of quitting tomorrow. Too long. Didn't read. I didn't mute myself during a Zoom meeting, and my boss and coworkers heard me talking to my food.